Hi, I'm Avon, and in this video we're going to go through how to manage records inside Zoho CRM. So first of all, I'm going to just pretend as though someone's just walked in or they've just called, and I'm just going to go up to the top, and you'll notice that I clicked the magnifying glass object just here. So when I click on that, now I can search for that record, and as you can see, we've got some test records on the screen there. So I'm just going to go to Barry Test. I could just obviously select it from the list there, but once I go into the record, you'll notice that I've got a area at the top which is like it's called a business card. So it gives you the top 5 things that you need to know. So you might want to change those, and you might say, well, I want to see the person type or the lead type or the lead source, rather than perhaps an email, phone, or mobile. Maybe you just pick one of those, but you can add and modify up to 5 items in here. In the details section down here, sometimes if you've only just turned on for the first time, you'll not see anything, so you'll have to go this show details. This actually gives you the details of the lead record itself. So having a look through here, I can see that there is title, phone, email, and don't be afraid that to get rid of some that are not relevant. So for example, if you've got a new org, you might want to turn off fax. I don't know anyone that uses fax anymore. You might want to turn off Twitter. Not many people in Australia use Twitter, and so on. So you can modify the fields in here. They're broken down into these sections, these like bold sections. And sometimes what I like to do is add a section at the bottom to put less relevant fields and get rid of ones that aren't relevant. On the left here, you'll notice this menu, which is kind of like a fast scroll menu. You'll notice we've got notes here, but also if I scroll down a little bit to the bottom of the details page, you'll see I've got the notes. But if I'm to click on that, it's going to take it to the top of the page. Same with each of the other elements in here. So I can click on Open Activities, and that brings it right up. And if I click on Notes, it's going to take me straight back to Notes. So on the Notes page, I can put notes about the record, and I might want to add a little bit of a story or a little bit of a detail on what's been happening with that contact. So in this case, it's a lead. Now, if you're on the contacts, accounts, deals, or any of the other modules, most of them operate with the same framework. So in the notes section, what I can also do is use the @ symbol, and then I can mention one of my team members, and then they will also be notified in the system here. So they'll get the little bell, which will pop up here in the notifications, and then they'll be able to click on that and then go straight to the record in full context. So if you said, hey, Tim or Jane or whatever, here is our current client, they need X, and then you can save that. You can add a bit of a title and some attachment. Generally just keep it simple, a few dot points is good. And then further down, you'll notice we've got an area to store attachments. Now, some modules you turn on and off. So this products module is on at the moment, but it may not be available in your org. That's fine. Quite often you'll see open activities, closed activities. Ideally, you'll have your emails mapped in. So you'll start to get a feed, and you'll be able to see the latest emails that were sent to you from someone else. Then also, if you've got any other applications that are plugged into here, such as Zoho Desk, campaigns, social, that should bring some of that information in. And again, if you want to fast scroll to those areas, you can. Now, one point to note is, say for example, if I hover over open activities here, you can see this little plus. Now, in the case of activities, what it's going to want to do, if I click on it, it wants to create another one of those activity objects. So it's actually going to create a task, a meeting, or a call. Now, if you're on attachments, you might hit the plus, and then it'll ask you if you want to upload something. Depending on what the related list is, that little plus will give you that action. So if it's Zoho projects, it might ask you to create a new project. If it's perhaps closed activities, can't give you a plus button, because closed activities is like the history of what's occurred. So if I create an activity here, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to create a task, it's going to pop up with a little window to create a task. So I can set the task, its due date, and then save. And then whenever I've completed that task, so if I click the little markers complete, or I can go into it and do some more detail, but in this case, I'm just going to click the markers complete. And then what that's going to do is it's going to drop down into this closed activity section. And you can see it's breaking it down by closed meetings, closed calls, or closed tasks. So that's generally a pretty easy way to navigate around a record. Now, if you want to see what's been done historically, you can click on this timeline tab up here, and you can see all the high level items. So it's not going to show you when I click and navigate around on the object, but it's going to show you the actions that I've taken. So I created the task, then I closed the task. And then if I go to overview again, it's going to take me back to that main area. Now, when working with the record, you might want to update some statuses, and you might have a blueprint process in here. But quite simply, if you want to send an email, you can click the send email button. Now, I don't actually have an email address on this record. So if I create one now, and I'm just going to create a test one, a@a.com. Okay, it's just enough to recognize that there is an email address. Then I can go and select send email. And then it's going to suggest, it's going to put in here the email details, my send address. You can add your subject at the top there, put your content in here. Now, if you've set up your email signature in the org, that will come through into here as well. But if I want to use a template, I can click templates. And then if I've created any templates, I click the button, it'll automatically populate. You might be wanting to send a welcome email or an FYI or an FAQ, any kind of extra information, that'll pre-populate it here, but you will still have an opportunity to modify that text. One cool feature that I like is the ability to schedule. And you might be writing the email on the weekend and you want to make it look like you weren't working all crazy hours. So you can have it send on either the best time to email. Now, Zia, which is the AI tool, will actually pick out when the best time to email is. If you have if you've sent a few emails to that contact, it'll start to pick up when they've opened it and then develop a trend pattern to identify when you should send the email that it's most likely to be at the top of their inbox. So by able to just simply select the time and date, you would just hit schedule and it would go, schedule and close. You would just be able to hit schedule and close and it will go when it needs to. Okay, here I can send or attach, and then with the drop down here, I can add a survey or a sales IQ. And sometimes depending on what you've got linked in the back end, you can have some other things. You might be able to send a payment link or something like that. Okay, so now that I've gone and had a look at that, now we are on the lead object. The lead object is a special one and it's not like any of the others. And the reason being is because a lead is your triage zone for when you first have contacts come into your database. You want to decide whether or not to keep them. So you have this special convert button. The convert button allows you to change your mind about a lead. For example, say you've had the lead come in and then you have had time to decide whether or not that contact is worthwhile. If not, then you might mark them either delete, which, ideally if someone's going to contact you over and over in the future, you probably wouldn't want to delete them. Even if they're just a lead, they're not qualified, you may need to let other people know not to spend too much time on them, or maybe they may become qualified later in the future. Then you convert them, and here it's asking me if I want to create a contact, or because I've used that test email, it's going to create a new contact, or it's going to add to an existing one. So I can look up the existing one, or in this case, I'm just going to create a new contact. Then it's going to create a new account as well, and the account is test. So if I put anything in the company field on the lead record, it's going to create an account with that same name. Accounts are really good for organizing the legal relationship that you have with your client. And here I'm going to check the box for new deal, where I can then add a value, add a closing date. I can set a stage, whether they're qualification, needs analysis, value proposition, etc. And then maybe a contact role. So if they're decision maker, I want to know that. Then once I've done that, I can just hit the convert button, and that's going to simultaneously create an account, a contact, and a deal. So then from here, I can click to any of those, or I can just click to go back to leads. So if I'm batch processing my leads, then I can simply do that. So for now, let's go back. Let's go to the contact record, and I'll show you some of the other features we've got. So in this one, I've got a few extra things turned on. So you can see any deals related. That number just turned up because a deal is now in relation. We can see closed activities. There's that test task that came through. Any cases, products, etc. Those things can come in here. But again, I've got this send email. I've also got the ability to edit the field, and that's going to take me to a page that is more predisposed to editing all fields. However, if I can save that, if I want to make my changes, in this case, I'm just going to hit cancel. You can edit line at a time, or inline editing, where if I hover over the field, it highlights. I can click the edit button and I will start editing. I then need to click the tick to save that field before I can move on or navigate away, and for those changes to save. If I click the dots over here, you'll notice I've got some other things. I can find and merge a duplicate in the system if they exist, and doing other things like mail merges, running macros, etc. So if you have any special features, you might have a special custom function or a button appear there, and then that would also trigger that process as well. So that is finding and managing records inside Zoho CRM. Thank you for watching. Take care.